Welcome to your Daily 5 for Monday, February 17th, 2025. I recently read a book titled Orbital by an author named Samantha Harvey. And I had seen this on a recommendation list for a book club, and it looked interesting based on the premise, which is that the author had been watching live streams of the International Space Station and started writing. They describe it as a pastoral. I'd have to ask Lando what that means in terms of books. But essentially started writing a book, stopped, and then when COVID hit, went ahead and finished the book. And the whole premise, the whole setup, I should say, the way the book is constructed, is it is a set of ascending and descending, 16 ascending and descending orbital cycles of the International Space Station. And there are a group of fictional astronauts that are on the space station. Of course, there are actual astronauts on the space station. And it's supposed to be a fictional version of the crew of the ISS or a space station as they orbit the Earth. And we get a number of snapshots of their kind of inner lives, their backgrounds, their interactions on the space station. And it's very much structured to almost be a documentary style type of book. And the reviews on it are wildly varied, and I understand why, because the book is interesting. It's hard to necessarily recommend, but at the same time, I really enjoyed it. I don't know that I enjoyed reading it as a book, but as a thought experiment, as a way of presenting this type of story, I think it's probably one of the better ones I've ever read, in that it has this very interesting structure to it. I'm sorry, I don't have a literary critical background where I can use the correct phrasing. But there are sections of the book and the way that they're written that are fascinating to me because I can kind of visualize, ironically, I can easily visualize what the writer wanted you to be seeing in your mind's eye. Like, it's so clearly laid out, but I don't know how well it works as a literary narrative for most people. It feels more academic than anything else. And I don't even know that that's necessarily a bad thing. That's what I mean about I don't want to come across like I'm saying it's a bad book, but I don't know that it's a successful book for most people. And some of the reviews will reinforce that, where people will talk about the fact that it's, when they say it's boring, I don't think the book is boring. I think it's structured a very certain way, and a certain reader type will get a lot out of it. So I'm very happy I read it. I don't know that I would ever reread it because I got what it was trying to tell me. I think it was successful in what it was trying to tell me, but it's not a book I would revisit. Some of my favorite books are ones I go back to every few years, or every year in some cases. I've read Snow Crash, I can't even tell you how many times. But this is not a book I think I'd ever go back to. And yet it is I know it will be memorable because I don't think I've read anything else quite like this. And I like space. I'm a space nerd, so I enjoy all that type of thing. And again, it's the combination of the actual subject matter already being interesting to me, and also the fact that I don't know that I've read something else that's quite presented this way. The closest, ironically, would probably be House of Leaves, which I did not finish. But it's really not a fair comparison. It's more in that you can see that there was a particular way the writer wanted to approach the material they were handling. In the case of House of Leaves, I couldn't make it through it. I finished Orbital, and I would say that I enjoyed it, but I don't know that I would blanket recommend it to anybody. It's such a particular type of book. I'd almost say if you can read the first chapter, I don't know if it's available to read, you will know exactly what it's all about. And you will know from that first chapter whether it's something you'll want to continue with. I kept going. Once I kind of figured out what it was, and I knew I was interested in the material, I went through the whole way. And so I would say if you can read the first chapter in some way, I don't know, like I said, if the whole first chapter, but even if you read a few pages, you're going to understand what the structure is. And if that's appealing to you, keep going, because the book is actually worth reading. If you don't find that it's fitting what you want to read, stop right there. This is the equivalent of when I talk about movies where in the first 10 to 15 minutes, you're going to know if you're in or you're out. This book, in the first 5 to 6 pages, you're going to know if you're in or out. Again, I had a good time with it, but I cannot necessarily blanket recommend it. So again, the book, the title is Orbital. The author is Samantha Harvey. And for the right reader, I think you'll have a good time with it. Everybody else, let it go by. Later.